Some days just change everything. And July 14th, 1789, that was absolutely one of those days. It's the day a gloomy medieval fortress in Paris, a huge symbol of royal power, came crashing down. And in doing so, it kicked off a revolution that was going to reshape not just France, but the entire world. So let's get into it and break down exactly how this all went down. And really, this is the question at the heart of it all, isn't it? It sounds almost made up. How on earth could an old, practically empty prison ignite a revolution that would change history forever? Well, to figure that out, we've got to rewind and look at what France was actually like in 1789. By 1789, France wasn't just having a tough time, it was a complete powder keg just waiting for a spark. Seriously, the whole kingdom was teetering right on the edge of a total meltdown, with massive crises on pretty much every single front. When you look at this list, you can see how it all just spiraled. The country was flat broke, partly because they'd helped fund the American Revolution. Ironic, right? This financial chaos, mixed with terrible harvests, meant the price of bread, the one thing poor people relied on to survive, went through the roof. And the absolute kicker? The people being forced to pay all the taxes to fix this mess weren't the rich ones. And this right here, this lays out the core injustice of it all. French society was split into these three groups, or estates. You had the first and second, the clergy and the nobility. They had all the money, all the power, but paid next to nothing in taxes. And then you had the third estate, which was, well, everybody else. We're talking 97% of the entire population, and they were stuck with the whole tax bill while having zero say in how the country was run. So what happened? Well, they finally had enough. In this incredibly bold move, the Third Estate just walked away and declared that they were the real government now, the National Assembly. This was it. This was the political start of the revolution, a direct challenge to King Louis XVI and his absolute power. The tension in the air was just electric. Now, right in the heart of Paris stood this one building, and it basically stood for everything that people had come to hate about the old system. It wasn't just a fortress, it was an idea. It was a giant, looming symbol of oppression. The Bastille. For hundreds of years, this was the place where the king could just lock you up, for any reason, with no trial. It was the ultimate symbol of that unchecked absolute power. If you said the wrong thing or criticized the king, you could just disappear inside those walls. So you have to understand, for the average person in Paris, the Bastille wasn't just stone and towers. It was this constant, terrifying reminder of the king's tyranny. It literally loomed over their homes, a dark silhouette representing everything they were starting to fight against. But here is the unbelievable irony in all of this. It's all summed up in this one little number. On the day the Bastille was stormed, that terrifying fortress of fear held only 7 prisoners. Just 7. And that really shows you the massive gap between what the Bastille symbolized and what it actually was in 1789. It was never about the prisoners inside. It was about what the building stood for. Okay, so let's get to the main event, July 14th, 1789. Paris is buzzing with fear and rumors. People are convinced the king's soldiers are on their way to crush their brand new National Assembly. They know they need to fight back, they need weapons, and they know the Bastille has the one thing they need most, gunpowder. And the day just escalates so fast. It starts in the morning with a huge crowd demanding ammunition. But things fall apart. The governor, a guy named Delaunay, refuses to hand anything over, the talks collapse, and then shots are fired. And that was it. The point of no return had been crossed. Now, this wasn't just a chaotic mob getting lucky. There was a critical turning point. Professional soldiers, the French guards, actually switched sides. They joined the revolutionaries and brought cannons with them. That was the game changer. After hours and hours of really brutal fighting, the impossible happened. The fortress fell. The news of the Bastille's fall spread like wildfire. It ripped through Paris and all the way to the king's lavish palace at Versailles. And the impact was instant. Everybody knew this was way more than just another riot. This exchange, it's become legendary. When an aide frantically brought the king the news, he supposedly asked, "Is it a revolt?" And the aide's answer was just so chillingly direct. "No, sire, it is a revolution." In that one sentence, you can feel the entire power structure of the country shifting forever. The old world was officially over. And you can see that shift happening in real time right here. After the Bastille fell, the king's authority in Paris just evaporated. It was gone. And in its place, all these new revolutionary groups shot up. A whole new city government, a new people's army called the National Guard. The revolution was getting organized.
But the story doesn't end when the fortress falls. Actually, in a lot of ways, that's where its real power actually begins. Let's talk about how this one violent afternoon became this incredible, enduring symbol for the whole world.
The physical fortress, it was torn down almost immediately, stone, by the people. But the idea of the Bastille, that just got bigger and more powerful. Its fall became the perfect shorthand for the entire revolution, this one amazing image of ordinary people rising up and literally tearing down oppression. And all those ideals that were swirling around in the crowd that day, that desperate need for freedom, for fairness, for solidarity, well, eventually they were boiled down into the three words that still define France today: liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty, equality, fraternity. And today, that one single, incredibly violent day is celebrated as France's national holiday. It's not just about celebrating a battle. It's a celebration of that exact moment when the French people decided to take their destiny into their own hands and declare that a new kind of nation was being born.
And that brings us right back to our big question, doesn't it? The storming of the Bastille proves that sometimes a symbol, one that's been charged up with years of frustration, injustice, and hope, can be way more powerful than stone walls or even an entire army. It really makes you wonder, what are the symbols out there today that hold that same kind of power?